So, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's not going in. Hello there everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Elliot Webber and we have some morning driver news to talk about. One Motorsport have confirmed their second driver for their 2025 Btcc campaign, and it is the returning Stephen Jelley. So as always, let's get straight into this. Yes guys, that is right. It was announced just a few minutes ago that One Motorsport will be fielding Josh Cook and the returning Stephen Jelley for their 2025 Btcc campaign in the pair of Honda Civic Type Rs. Now, first of all, is this a surprising move? Absolutely. I don't think anyone saw Stephen Jelley coming back to Btcc, let alone with One Motorsport. Definitely a shot for me. I did not predict Stephen Jelley to come back to the championship. I did not predict Stephen Jelley to obviously be at One Motorsport. There were a ton of rumours going about as to who would be Josh Cook's teammate for 2025. One of the obvious ones, seemingly more of the obvious candidates, was Michael Crees, someone who's been very open about trying to come back for 2025 and for another 2 years beyond that. Another driver thrown about was, of course, Jade Edwards, given her relationship with One Motorsport and, of course, her very popular fan base. Another name thrown about was Mikey Doble. Obviously, Power Max announced yesterday that they will be on the grid, but only with one car, possibly two if budget allows. So it is likely that maybe Doble will be back at Power Max, which I believe is going to get announced tomorrow. The Power Max's driver, not Doble. I mean, it could be Doble, but we still don't know at this point. I definitely don't know. So yeah, another name that was recently thrown about to join One Motorsport was, of course, Rob Huff. Rob Huff, who for the majority of the winter was believed to be returning to Toyota. That was seemingly a set in stone thing, but it's been supposedly rumoured. There has no been official confirmation by anyone, but there have been some rumours that Rob Huff has lost one of his main sponsors, which could be one of the reasons as to why he hasn't yet been announced yet. Though I'm assuming if he is able to get that budget, we will likely see him back at Toyota. Fingers crossed. So yeah, so Stephen Jelley was not a name thrown about in the One Motorsport rumour mill. He wasn't even thrown about to be on the Btcc grid in 2025. I think a lot of people probably assumed he'd be back in the Porsche Carrera Cup, the championship he raced in 2024. But no, it has been announced that Stephen Jelley is back. And honestly, it's a welcome surprise. I am a huge fan of Stephen Jelley. I've got a soft spot for him. You know, a lot of people, if you've seen my interview with him last year, please go check that out. He gives a phenomenal insight as to how much money goes into a Btcc campaign and other stuff. So yeah, that is actually one of my favourite interviews, so please go and watch that. I have left a playlist of all my interviews throughout the past couple of years on my channel, so go watch all of them, but of course, go watch the Stephen Jelley one because it does relate to this video, kind of. So yeah, a very welcome surprise. Again, I do like Stephen Jelley. You know, he is, of course, nowhere near the best driver on the grid. You will never see him compete for championships unless, of course, he blows us out of the water this year. But yeah, of course, he might not be the best driver, but he certainly is nowhere near the worst. Stephen Jelley has always been someone who can pull out results, while not consistently. You will see him be at the front occasionally, competing for podiums, and he obviously getting the odd race win, which is something he did when he was at his second stint at WSR. So yeah, a very, very surprising move, but a welcome one. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of the food, but I'm definitely a big fan of the name. So yeah, now, first of all, how will Stephen Jelley perform now that he is moving back into front-wheel drive? It's been a long time since Stephen Jelley drove a front-wheel drive touring car. The last and only time before this year was 2017, when Stephen Jelley drove for Team Parker Racing in a Ford Focus ST. So that was the last time, and of course, that was his first year back into the championship after a long hiatus away from Btcc. So yeah, we can't really base the results that he got then, especially because Team Parker Racing didn't really delve with the Ford Focus. It was more or less when they got a 1 Series BMW that Stephen and that team really started to perform in Btcc. So it is still going to be quite a huge unknown, especially because yeah, as mentioned, this is only the second time in Stephen's touring car career that he will be driving a front-wheel drive car. The Honda Civic in my personal opinion, is still a good car. Fingers crossed it is. But I do think that Stephen will take some time to adapt, again, to readapt to front wheel drive, to learn touring cars again after a year out. I think it will take some time. Stephen is someone who seemingly doesn't hit the ground running straight away, but that's not a bad thing, of course. That is definitely not a bad thing. I think it's seemingly like Josh Cook will 100% be the #1 driver in that team. No disrespect to Stephen, but I do think Josh Cook is a level above Stephen Jelley. But again, Stephen is still a great driver in his own right. I do think, if Josh Cook is to be a championship contender this year, and if Josh Cook is to go into the final race, into the final round of Brands GP with a realistic chance of the championship, I do think Stephen will be a solid #2 driver and be a solid, just a solid help to Josh's championship campaign, because Stephen's been that driver before. Go back to 2009, Stephen Jelley was that driver for Colin Turkington back when Turkington won his first championship. Stephen, while of course he was never always up there, but he would get the odd race win and he would be consistently in the top 10, taking points off of Turkington's rivals to help Turkington win that championship. So Stephen's been that driver before, and I do think he can be that driver again. Of course, it's 2025, not 2009, and Stephen is, of course, much older than he was 15 years ago. But still, I do think Stephen is still a solid driver. You know, there were some moments in Carrera Cup last year where he did have great performances, and again, even when he was at BMW and WSR, and even when he was at Team Parker Racing, he had some great performances. And Stephen on his day can be a solid driver, and on his day he can be up there with the best of the bunch. And I really do see Stephen Jelley being a regular point scorer, a regular top 10 finisher. And again, if there's a reverse grid draw that goes in his favour and it's a track that he knows quite well, there is no doubt in my mind Stephen Jelley will be winning at least one race. Now, my overall predictions for Stephen Jelley, as I've just mentioned, he will be a regular point scorer. I have no doubt in my mind, even with now what will I believe to be at least a 23 car grid. Even with a few more cars on the grid, I do think Stephen will be a regular point scorer. I do think he will be getting an odd top 10 or 2. And again, if a reverse grid draw goes in his favour, there is no doubt in my mind we will be seeing Stephen Jelley with some silverware and who knows, maybe even a race win or 2. For his standings predictions, I don't think he's going to scrape the top 10. I do think he will be in, P11 to P15, about that sort of position in the championship standings. But again, that's not to say he's not going to have a bad season, because I do have hope and confidence, also known as pure hopium, for One Motorsport. Of course, they are the Honda team. Naturally, they will be getting my support. So I wish One Motorsport all the best with their Honda Civic Type R this year, and with their driver lineup. 2 proven race winners, and one of those drivers could possibly be a championship contender in 2025. But let me know your predictions in the comments below, guys. What are your predictions for Stephen Jelley's return and for One Motorsport as a whole? Can Josh Cook become British Touring Car Champion? We will talk about that in my One Motorsport preview video, which will come at some point before the first race weekend at the end of April. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. What's your reaction to Stephen Jelley's return? And yeah, let me know your thoughts for One Motorsport in the comments below. Of course, if you are new around here, be sure to like this video, share with your mates as well, so it of course does help my channel grow. And of course, press that subscribe button, because we are firmly on the road to 400 subscribers. We are just 60 subs away from hitting 400. So be sure to share and get your friends to subscribe as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Goodbye.